Welcome, anime fans and the anime curious, to Where There's a Weave There's a Way, a podcast series in which a seasoned otaku and a newbie attempt to put together an anime canon. We're going to be taking a look at some of the most influential shows and films, along with some modern curiosities, to help break a newcomer into the medium. We're your hosts, Chris and Grace.
Hi. So today we are finally getting back in the robot and we're going to talk about the Evangelion rebuild movies.
Yes, and also known as the rebuild of Evangelion, if you want to kind of get it
get it right.
if you want to get it right, yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit of an egg.
No, it's fine, It's okay. They're known in Japan as Evangelion, the new theatrical edition, or in the Japanese, Evangelion Shingekichi Joban. Yeah, so there are a set of 4 Evangelion films. It started in 2007 with the first one, and they finally finished this year, the year of our Lord 2021, with the 4th one. 14 years later, spanning my being teenagers to us being adults now, a bit like Shinji Ikari in the movies. But anyway, so the rebuild of Evangelion, kind of the Tetralogy is what they called. That's what it's actually not quadrilogy, which is the stupid Alien box set invented. You know, like you got trilogies.
Yeah.
The Alien box set called it a quadrilogy, which is a word that doesn't exist. Actually, a 4-film sequence is called a tetralogy, but quadrilogy sounds a bit better to me.
Very, very nerdy. Nerdy bit of info. But yeah, Tetralogy, okay.
Yeah. So the 4 films are basically Hideako's attempt at doing another stab at this whole Evangelion shit.
Yeah.
So they're made up of 4 films. Evangelion, you are, brackets, not, end bracket, alone. You can, bracket, not, end bracket, advance. You can, bracket, not, end bracket, redo, and Thrice Upon a Time. 4 films, started in 2007, and the final one finally got released this year in 2021 after a very laboured production of the fourth film. Now, I've been aware of these films for a long time, but I've actually not watched any of them. No idea why, because 2007 was probably around the time when I first watched the original TV series of Evangelion. And the End of Evangelion.
Yeah, I know why you were too depressed from the End of Evangelion to watch anymore.
I was too depressed from the End of Evangelion, yeah, to keep doing this Evangelion shit. But yeah, I've been aware of them and like what the concept of these films are. They're basically like a reboot of the series, which would eventually kind of start off as a kind of modern retelling of the early episodes of the TV series, before eventually becoming a brand new series with a brand new conclusion to the story, which is an exciting premise. I can't think of anything in any medium where a director has been able to go back to one of their absolute seminal works and get a chance to remake it and do it with the sensibilities that they've got since then. So, in a shock to no one, Neon Genesis Evangelion was created by Hideaki Anno, and Hideaki Anno was, this is where the shock comes, was not in a good way when he made Evangelion.
Well, I can barely tell.
I know. Shocking. So the idea of the rebuild films was kind of to reconcile with that depressed past, basically, and reach a new conclusion. And kind of part of the fun of the rebuild films is seeing, like, what conclusion Arno is going to reach. Like, is it going to be a happy ending? Is it going to be a sad ending? What's he going to do with his cipher, Shinji? Our beloved emo poster boy, what conclusion is the eternally teen angst Shinji going to reach in the rebuild of Evangelion films? And that is what we're going to talk about today. Rather excitingly, Amazon Prime, Amazon Video, bought the rights to the 4th Evangelion film, but one was released in Japanese cinemas earlier this year to huge box office success. They bought the rights to the international distribution, and in addition they also bought the rights to the previous 3 films as well. For the dubs, they got back a bunch of the voice actors who voiced the beloved ADV films, version of Evangelion, so not the Netflix cast. This is a lot of the ADV voice actors, which I think is really cool. Kind of putting the extra effort into that distribution. But also available in a shit zillion other languages as well, including the usual Japanese. So, one rainy Saturday, I saw they were all on, and we were just like, do you want to marathon these suckers?
And I was like, hell yeah. Who wouldn't want to do that?
It's just one bad man wouldn't want to watch 4 Evangelion films in one day.
Yeah. We've got a wedding coming up, but we definitely have time to just sit on the couch for a whole day. I know, it was... I've actually not done a film marathon in a long, long time. At least not like... Because even like with Lord of the Rings these days, because we're such losers. Like we marathon the Lord of the Rings every year, but like even these days, to be fair, we can't split it across a couple of days. Yeah, because we're old and we're old and we don't have the staying power to watch 3 nearly 4-hour movies.
Each one's about 4 hours.
4-hour movies in one day. We're too old. Yeah.
But the Evangelion ones, because they're like significantly shorter, it didn't feel like too much of a... except for like the final one, which we'll talk about a bit more. I never really kind of had that marathon like lull at any point. I didn't really feel burned out at any point because the films move so fastly. Like, you know, it's a lot to take in. So yeah, the only way we're gonna have to do this is just go. But we should say as well, we had a great time marathoning these films.
Yeah, it was a blast.
It was really fun.
I just loved... It was just really fun.
It was really fun. We had a really good time
Yeah.
marathoning these movies. Like, you know, for you know, Grace is a relatively new Evangelion fan. And for me, being an old, very old Evangelion fan, it was cool just having new Evangelion made by the original director. And you can very much tell that, which is what I liked about them. But yeah, the only way we're really going to do this is just go through it film by film. So the first one we're going to talk about is, so the English title is Evangelion 1.0, You Are Not Alone. But the version we watched was like kind of the extended version, like, I don't know, whatever's on Prime is the version we watched. I think it's like 1.11 or something. In the Japanese, it's called Evangelion Shin Gekichi Goban Jo, which, as I understand, is in relation to the concept of Jo Ha Kyu, which corresponds to beginning, middle, and end from Gakkaku music, and it's used to describe the different acts of the No play. That's interesting.
I didn't understand half of what you just said, but okay.
Neither do I. But No plays are like NOH. I kind of like traditional like Japanese plays and stuff, and like dance drama, wear masks and stuff. And,
okay.
But anyway, You Are Not Alone, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So this was released in 2007, and is ostensibly a retelling, a very faithful retelling of the first 6 episodes of the TV series, taking us up to the conclusion of the classic episode Ray 1, which just before the introduction of Asuka in the TV series. It's the first 6 episodes of Evangelion.
Yeah.
Told with amazing animation and a few new scenes sprinkled in there, like to kind of even things out a little bit, to kind of bring it, because obviously, like, you know, the production of Evangelion was extremely fraught. There was huge production problems. The sarin gas attacks at Tokyo at the time really disrupted production. They had to rewrite. Well, the story goes that, you know, one, obviously, Anno was depressed and he wanted to express more of himself in the TV show. But also they kind of had to rewrite aspects of the TV series to kind of get away from the associations with the sarin gas attack that happened in Tokyo at the time. So an extremely fraught production, controversial release, a film conclusion which was met with mixed reactions from fans. You know, this is almost like Anno's attempt at not course correcting, but like consolidating everything that he kind of learned from that experience and like having another go. As I said, I describe these films as having another go of that Evangelion shit. Also, so we should say as well, this is going to be a full spoiler one.
Oh, yeah.
So, because this is like a bonus episode.
Yeah, we're just... All systems go.
All systems go. But I should especially say this now, because it's spoilers, because the 4th film is still pretty much brand new. We watched it opening weekend, along with most of the rest of the Evangelion fan base, but if you've not seen the 4th film yet,
Go see it before.
Just go watch it
before you listen to this. Yeah,
it's on Prime, so if you don't have Prime, get a free subscription for a week and just do what we did, just watch them all.
Yeah,
over the course of a week or whatever. But yeah, spoilers for all the films, including Thrice Upon a Time. Yeah, so with that in mind, what did you think of Evangelion? You Are Not Alone.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I like the first 6 episodes of Evangelion, so it would follow that I like this too. I like the animation and
because I think the animation looks really nice. It's like more digital now. I was a little worried because I knew some of the shots were used 3D animation, especially with the Evas, but I actually thought they looked really good. Now, for me, I talked about me being an old Evangelion fan. I've watched the first 6 episodes of Evangelion way too many times, to the point where I know the back of my hand. And for me, it was a little bit kind of not going through the motions, but I was a bit I can't wait to get to the new stuff because what they're doing here looks really cool. For example, the first Angel fight, when Shinji first gets into Eva 1, where he fights the first Angel, it's kind of got this cool, moody atmosphere now. The lights are really subdued, and while you saw the Eva in full display in the TV show, I really love how in this it's darker. You don't really get a good look at the Evangelion and kind of what it is, and yeah, the opening fight is really cool, and that kind of extends to the rest of the film, really. A lot of it is shot for shot, like the original TV series, but with some hints at, this is going to be different.
I will say, I think there are some things that, obviously they had to cut down on. Things from the TV show, so I think maybe the biggest example that I felt like I noticed was Shinji's relationship with his 2 friends at school. That didn't get as much screen time as it did in the show, which I think there's always going to be something, isn't there, that you have to sacrifice when you do something like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't recommend you watch this instead of
definitely
the first 6 episodes. You should just watch everything.
Just watch it all. It's
watch
all worth
everything.
Watching.
It's all worth it. Yeah.
It's to me the closest media equivalent I can actually think of is, and this won't necessarily make much sense to you, but Final Fantasy VII versus the Final Fantasy VII remake, released on the PS4 for last year. So Final Fantasy VII. Classic JRPG, one of the best games ever made, one of my all-time favourite games, one of the most beloved games ever made. I probably watched an episode of Evangelion. I then played an hour of Final Fantasy VII, and that was probably my school evening for the longest time. The ultimate. Then put on some My Chemical Romance for a little bit.
I can relate to that.
The ultimate mid-2000s anime emo fan, but Final Fantasy VII, seminal game. One of the most important games ever made. I like Evangelion, but a game that has its problems, it has its faults, and people have always imagined, what if this was reimagined with modern tech? And I think that's what people's reactions to Evangelion is a lot of the time. And the remake of Final Fantasy VII is, in my opinion, brilliant. I think the remake is excellent. I can't wait to see what we do for future installments of that. And it's cool because it starts off as being a very, very faithful retelling of Final Fantasy VII, before slowly but surely deviating down its own path, and it kind of becomes about deconstructing Final Fantasy VII and everything that kind of went into making it. Now, if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, I think you can watch it and enjoy it, but I don't think it should replace Final Fantasy VII. I think to really appreciate the remake, I think you have to play Final Fantasy VII, and then you can see what they're doing in the 7 remake. But one doesn't replace the other, basically, is what I'm trying to say, which I kind of feel similarly about the rebuild of Evangelion films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The 7 remake's the closest thing I can think of to a similar sort of idea that we're trying to achieve in these rebuild of Evangelion films. So yeah, one doesn't replace the other is basically what my point is.
Yeah, I would of course agree. That being said, I think this is a great film. It's great seeing all the characters again. Yeah, the animation's nice. It's pretty faithful retelling. Now, of something that worth mentioning, I think they get into the lore quite a bit quicker
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
because there's a scene towards the end where Misato takes Shinji down to one of the lower levels of Nerve and shows him Lilith nailed to a cross, and is like, "Yes, this is Lilith."
Yeah, which different in the show, because like in the show, Misato doesn't know what's going on with Nerve for like a long time. They get rid of all of that. They expedite all of that in favour of Misato. Misato knew about it the whole time.
Yeah. She, this is Lilith. We have all life descends from Lilith. If an angel touches Lilith, it's going to trigger third impact.
Yeah.
Oh, something that I think also worth noting is I think you get way more of a sense of the sheer scale of the Nerve headquarters.
Yeah. I think the expanded budget really helps there, definitely.
They're always on escalators, or I think that in one point, Misato and Ritsuko are in a cable car.
Oh yeah. I like that. Yeah,
I like that. It's interesting. You get a real sense of like this actual facility. It's vast.
Yeah,
it's not just like a bunker. Yeah, it's huge.
So they used the expanded budget and improved technology to really, expand upon the world of Evangelion. And do go almost like this very faithful retelling of the TV series with the best technology. For me, the film ends up feeling a little bit like a demo reel for what this project is going to be about. This is the technology that we have. This is the vision. And stick with us kind of thing. Because at the end of the film, a shirtless Kaoru appears, and you're a bit like, oh, what the hell? What's he doing here so early?
He's on the moon.
He's on the moon.
Which is weird. Yeah, and fun.
Yeah. Lots of hints for where things are going to go. Because it's the second film in this Rebuild of Evangelion series where I think the promise of the first film is really delivered upon. Because I think that's kind of it for the first film. Like, it is just a faithful retelling of the first 6 episodes, which then starts to kind of deviate down its own path. Fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Cool.
So I guess we should talk about film number 2, which is where things really do start to deviate.
Yeah, so this is Evangelion 2.0. You cannot advance. In Japanese, Evangelion Shin Gekichi Goban Ha. Which, we watched again the extended version, whatever one's on Amazon Prime. So the second one introduces Asuka, but also introduces a very puzzling new character. I still don't quite understand who she is, called Mari.
She's another Reva pilot.
I guess. So she wears glasses. She's kind of kinky, I guess. I guess that's her shtick. I don't know.
She's kinky?
I don't know. Like, she's very flirty. Like, I don't know. I didn't really get Mari. I didn't get her in any of these films. If any criticism of the Rebuild series is Mari, but we'll talk. I think we'll talk about her a bit more in relation to, like, maybe later on.
Yeah.
Maybe later on. All right, cool. So the second film opens with Asuka being introduced. She's introduced slightly differently to the way she is in the show, but she still makes a huge impact with the characters. She lives with Shinji. All the things you've come to know and recognise. So with this one, this is the one where like things really do start to deviate. Things really do start to kind of go off in their own kind of direction. So the film basically kind of the first hour kind of follows the pilots kind of living normal lives, really. There's not really many angel attacks. We get lots of development for Rei. In fact, we were saying that how like I liked Rei in these films more than I've done in like all of Evangelion. Mm-hmm. Like I think she's the absolute star of these films.
Yeah,
they do lots of really great development for Rei. But yeah, you kind of see Rei again. The roles are kind of reversed a little bit. Rei's a bit more open and a bit more like emotional, while Asuka's kind of very angry and distant. We kind of go the opposite ways, basically.
Yeah, like Rei's a kind of a sweetie. She really wants to repair the relationship between Shinji and his dad, who is still the worst. By the way,
he's still the worst. Gendo's worst. In fact, I'd argue that in these films, he is the worst he's ever been.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just like me hating him more every time I see him, but.
I mean, he becomes like a monster at the end of the fourth one. Like, anyway, we'll get there later. I'm way ahead of myself. Yeah, so like the crux of this one is basically that Rei wants to help repair the relationship between Shinji and Gendo. Again, something that kind of runs through these rebuild films is that kind of slightly more warmth to it. I think there's a renewed sense of hope in these films, whilst like the End of Evangelion is just despair. Just the world is fucked and all we can do is scream about it. The rebuild films kind of suggest a much more like hopeful approach to much more in keeping actually to the ending of the TV series. Where in the TV series it ends fairly hopefully. Shinji makes peace with himself and who he is inside his own head. The rebuild films about Shinji making peace with himself actually in the real world, which I liked. I liked how that was at the forefront. It was great seeing this character who's almost like Peter Pan, I guess, in my head. Like, because Shinji always feels like he's going to be a teenage boy forever. It was great seeing him grow up, but we'll talk about that a bit more later. We'll get to that,
yeah.
But that's kind of the crux of these rebuild films, is what I should say. So Rei wants to put on a nice dinner.
There's also a lovely section where Kaji takes the kids to this like sanctuary where they preserved like marine life.
I love that, yeah.
And and like turtles and fish and stuff that have pretty much otherwise gone extinct since the second impact. And I just thought this was a really cute and nice section.
Yeah, because there's so much to talk about as well, is that like they change the visual flavour of the world a little bit, while more of the world is infected by the kind of red ocean, which is a leftover from a second impact. In fact, the opening shot of the first film are waves crashing on the beach, the red water crashing on the beach, a la the ending of the End of Evangelion, which we'll kind of get onto our grand theories about why that is at the end, I guess. But yeah, I love that bit. Basically, they kind of purified the water so marine life could live. And it's just the kids hanging out. Honestly, I'm a sucker for, like, these kids just hanging out and being kids.
Yeah.
Because so much shit happens to them. It's nice seeing them just be happy. And I think a huge part of why Evangelion lives on, like, in high school AUs and all this sort of thing is, I think, because of that element. But yeah, I liked Kaji. It was good seeing Kaji in this as well.
Yeah, I think he maybe gets a bit more development. Or
his role's different.
Yeah.
Because now there's not a big mystery to what's underneath Nerve anymore, which is what Kaji's role was in the TV show. Now that Misato just knows there's a giant, like, godly being hidden in Nerve, Kaji doesn't really serve much as a purpose anymore. He's well there just to kind of give sound advice.
Yeah, he's kind of like a nice dad figure.
Yeah,
for the kids, which
it's nice. Yeah. So the first half of the film, I said, is a real almost like slice of life thing. Shinji's a lot happier than we've ever kind of seen him. He makes lunches for everyone at school and stuff, and I said it's Asuka who doesn't seem to have changed all that much. And interestingly, Asuka's last name is no longer Asuka Langley Soyu.
Oh yeah,
it's Asuka Langley Shinikami or something like that. Which I don't really quite understand the reason for that, but we do learn something interesting about Asuka in the fourth one. But again, we'll get there. But that's kind of the first half. And the second half is when things get interesting. Because just when you think it's deviated, you think Gendo and Shinji are going to have this lovely dinner together, which, as we learned later, literally could have saved the whole universe. Shit happens where the plot line from the TV show, where one of the new Avas is actually an angel in disguise, happens. But they do that plot line to make a point that it's not the same pilot. In the TV show, it's his friend Toji, who is the Ava pilot, and then Shinji is forced to fight and effectively kill. And the character doesn't die, but effectively the character's dead in the show.
You never see him again.
You never see him again.
And like the whole thing where Gendo overrides the controls and puts the dummy plug in instead, so Shinji can't do anything. The Eva's just beating the crap out of the other pilot.
Yeah.
But this time it is not him. It's actually Asuka who is in the pilot seat. So, like,
it is great because you have this haunting realisation, like, oh, they're doing this storyline. Because at last, something I've wanted to see for ages, they show the American Nerve headquarters. And it's in the middle of, like, it looks like a Texan landscape, and I loved it. I was like, oh my god, it's American Nerve. I thought it was really cool, like, but, that's I'm a loser. I want to know what little effing is. I'm like, yep, there it is. looks like an American nerve because it's next to one of those big, deserty mountains or whatever they have in America. But yeah, so when you realise when we're doing that storyline, if you're new to it, you don't know what's going on. Like, it's really tense. But then if you do know what the show, you know what story we're doing, and they know that Toji's okay. And you think, oh my god, we're doing this, but with Asuka.
Oh no.
And you're like, oh, not Asuka. And again, effectively, Asuka's dead.
Well,
like if Shinji effectively thinks she's dead.
I mean, obviously, spoilers. She comes back in.
She comes back
in the third one.
Kind of. But again, we'll get there. But yeah, so it is horrible and heartbreaking, and then they start doing all the stuff where like Rei sacrifices herself as well.
Yeah.
Like in the TV show, and Shinji destroys Nerve headquarters, which was great.
Yeah, he's trying to save her. And in doing so, he actually triggers the third impact.
Well, the near third impact.
Yeah, near third impact, as it's clarified in the next movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final half is like this real horrible gut wrench, real punch to the stomach. Of oh god, we're doing this storyline. I mean, oh my god, they've triggered an impact. What on earth?
Yeah, what? Where the hell is this gonna go?
Where's this gonna go? Like at the end of the second film, I was like, I legit do not know what's gonna happen next.
Mm-hmm.
Like, legit don't know. So that's the second one. I love the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Probably my favourite one.
I think so too. I think it is my favourite of the bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
close call between the second one and the fourth one. I think the fourth one might have a bit more meat to it than we realised because we were watching it at the end of a marathon.
True, yeah.
I think I maybe like to watch it again when I'm a bit more fresh. But the second one was the one I had the most fun with whilst watching.
I think for me it was in that space of being, it had enough similarities to the TV show, but it deviated also enough to really be interesting.
Yeah, and that second half was, I think, really pushed it over. I think, once again, great animation. It all looks amazing. Everything about it looks phenomenal. Voice acting's great, direction's great. And it just ends on this note of oh my god, what is going to happen next?
Yeah. Of course, we found out right away because we put on the next movie.
Yes, so we didn't have to wait 3 or 4 years. So we got to then the third film in the series, which is Evangelion 3.0, You Cannot Redo. Evangelion Shin Gekki Joban Q, which is the third one. I knew the third one was a controversial one. I know people did not like the third one. They had more negative reactions than the first two, and immediately within the first 10 minutes I could see why. Yeah,
it's pretty bold.
It's bold, and I congratulate Arno for trying something bold so this late on in the game with Evangelion, to the point where I was looking on afterwards and people posted videos on YouTube being like, oh, this is my Evangelion. It's like, oh, f*** off. But yeah, so opening 10 minutes, Shinji wakes up and 14 or 15 years had passed. I can't remember how much time it is in the film, but
yeah, he's just been trapped inside his Eva, in a coma. I think for forever. But yeah, it is 14 years.
And he wakes up in a world that's been ravaged by his actions.
Yeah.
Because he tries to save Rei, but in doing so triggers nearly triggers the third impact. He basically destroys the world.
Yeah, mass extinctions all over the place, and good job, Shinji.
Well done, Shinji.
You shouldn't have got in the robot.
Which becomes the theme of the third Evangelion film. Shinji should have stayed out the robot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he wakes up and he's kind of been rescued by Misato, who's not talking to him, and
she's gone all cold.
She's gone cold and distant, and Asuka, she's got she's alive, but she's got an eye patch, and
also worth noting, Shinji and Asuka look exactly the same age, and they call this being the curse of an Eva pilot. You don't age.
Yes.
They don't really explain why, and
we missed something in the fourth film, which I read about later. I'll talk about when we get to the fourth film, but it's only for Asuka it's explained. I think it was like a blink and we missed it, but it is said. But But anyway, so Shinji wakes up in the future. It's all been destroyed, and he basically finds himself as part of like Misato's like crew of like pilots who are piloting like this awesome like airship made out of like Ava parts.
Yeah.
I was getting like real like Gurren Lagann vibe from it as well, which was really cool.
And they're now like basically the resistance because they've defected from Nerve.
Yeah. So basically, they are dedicated to. It's called like a Gil or something, and they're like a organization dedicated to destroying Nerve because obviously their plans are to still cause the Human Instrumentality Project, which hasn't happened yet. So Misato's on a mission to basically take out Gendo and all that. So Shinji wakes up. Everybody hates him because obviously he like nearly caused the mass extinction of the entire human race. But it's not too long before his old pal Ray comes to rescue him. Only it's not the Ray that we've kind of grew to know in the previous two films. This is a different Ray, and we get the whole thing of this Ray kind of going back to the Ray that we kind of know from like early Evangelion, distant, cold, all this sort of stuff. So Shinji literally has nobody in this world anymore, like who he can speak to, and he's kind of brought back to the ruins of Nerve headquarters. Gendo's got something up with his eyes. I didn't really understand what was happening there.
Yeah.
He looks like Geordi from Star Trek now. But like I don't know what was going on there. I dug it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
However, like in the TV show, at Shinji's lowest point, when he's got no one to talk to, an incredibly sexy angel boy comes to comfort him in his moment of need. And that's Kaoru Nagisa's introduction to the film, and they just did, they weren't subtle in the TV show, and they certainly weren't subtle here. Like, how I would love to see the Netflix version try and like censor the gay scene like they did in the TV show.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they could have censored this.
Yeah, because it was all so romantic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Kaoru loves Shinji, Like there's no subtlety there. They have an extremely homoerotic piano duet sequence.
Yeah.
There's like some out of a girl with a portrait on fire or something. Or, I don't know.
Portrait of a Woman on Fire.
That's it, Portrait of a Woman on Fire, yeah. It was all very intimate, and like, Kaoru's like, music could be the conversation, and all the scenes were great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And I also liked, because obviously Kaoru only gets the one episode in the TV show, and it is one hell of a brilliant episode, but I actually like that here it felt like it took some time for this relationship to develop between them. It felt like it was playing out over, at least several weeks, and it didn't, it wasn't so much Kaoru just showed up and was like, I love you.
Yeah, like in the show, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go share a shower together.
Yeah. Which, maybe that's just how Kaoru be. But I really liked... And I would say the Kaoru Shinji stuff was the highlight of this movie.
The highlight.
For me, yeah.
Yeah. Shinji Kaoru, but bisexual icon.
Definitely.
we love him.
Yeah.
So over the course of the film, Shinji, through Kaoru, goes to understand exactly what's happened to the world. Like on a grand scale, you don't really get the minutiae until you get to the fourth film, but on a grand scale, you can see through Shinji's inability to kind of reconcile with his emotions, he's almost caused the mass destruction of the world. But Kaoru tells him the way which perhaps could reset things and go back to the way things were, which, looking back now, I can't help but feel it's a meta commentary, like on the way I think Arno knew the film was going to be received, because this one deviates so heavily from the TV show. It's something completely new. I think Arno knew that fans would say, "Can we not just reset this whole thing? Can we not go back to the way things were?" And then, because at first, something happens in the second half, which I knew would be a controversial scene, but maybe You know, because basically, okay, I'll get ahead of myself here. So Kaoru basically tells Shinji that there is a way that they can reset the world, and that's to get the 2 spears, you know, the spears from the TV show, the Lance of Longius and Cassius, or whatever. I actually learned something really funny recently as well, that I didn't know this, but, you know, people always talk about the Judeo-Christian symbolism of Evangelion, and, like, the creators of the show actually had no idea what any of that stuff meant. Like, they used Judeo-Christian iconography in the same way that we might use, like, Norse mythology, for example.
Which I actually think is brilliant.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic, and I think it is kind of funny to think of your religion, well, not my religion anymore, but the one that I was raised in, you know, just being, like, appropriated this way.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Because, like, this is how it is for so many people and cultures and religions that are not, you know, white Western Christianity.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating.
Yeah, so they must have, like, just looked through the Bible and gone like, the Lance of Longius, the lance that pierced to Jesus Christ, you know, on the cross. That sounds mythological, I guess. And, you know, I think for all they didn't really understand what they were referencing, it works. It works, yeah. It definitely works. It adds this grand scale to the show, which, again, is I think a huge part of why Evangelion crossed over into the West so much, was, like, so many Westerners can see that Christian iconography in it. But anyway, so Kaoru tells Shinji about these 2 lances that apparently can reset the world. So him and Kaoru set off on a mission to go retrieve the Lancers from the destroyed Nerve headquarters. But along the way, they end up getting into a fight with Asuka
and
Mari, who is here, and I still don't get why she's here. And the fight's good. It's basically fought like in this the bottom of Nerve headquarters with skulls everywhere and stuff. And anyway, Kaoru starts having second thoughts about pulling out these spears. He's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't reset the world. And Shinji's like, no, I have to save the world. We have to go back to the way things were. And of course Shinji does it.
Yeah,
everyone's
good job, Shinji.
Well done, Shinji. Everyone's like, stop, Shinji, don't do it.
Get out of the robot.
Get out of the robot, stop. But of course he does it, and then this is what triggers the actual third impact, isn't it?
Yeah, or it was gonna be, but the
fourth impact's in the fourth one.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. It basically it starts to trigger the real third impact.
That's it. No, it starts to. That's the problem with these, is that, like, it all gets a bit mixed up with, like, you know, the third impact and the fourth impact
and the other impact.
The other impact. It all gets very confused to the point where it doesn't really matter anymore. That's it. No, so Shinji starts the process of enacting the fourth impact. That's what happens, basically.
Yeah, and Kaoru like averts this by basically blowing off his own head.
So like there's like this collar which at the start of the film they put around Shinji's neck. So like if he ever exhibits this brain pattern, which is what happens when Eva gets close to basically the same brain pattern that causes an impact, it'll blow his head off. Yeah,
and Kaoru later takes it upon himself because that is a thing he can do. But the fourth impact is triggered, and it has something to do with Kaoru having become he was the first angel in this, and he's like become the 13th, and like he kind of realizes that the way he can put a stop to the fourth impact is by killing himself.
Yeah. But like he does in the TV like in the TV show, there's a dramatic end to Kaoru.
But yeah, so like he's like a foot away from Shinji when he blows his own
really
head
sad,
off. It is really sad and traumatic, and
blood splatters everywhere.
Yeah. I know I've been roasting Shinji a bit in this episode, but like
I think we've been okay towards Shinji. Yeah. It's in this one way I think he acts a little bit stupid, but
I mean I love him still.
I love Shinji.
I love him still. Haters can fight me. But yeah, it's horrible and traumatic and. Yeah.
So like, well, basically, what I'm going to say is that like, I think it's clever what Anna was doing here. If my reading of it is what I'm going to say now, even if it does come at the expense of Shinji's intelligence. So I think Anna knew this third one was going to be controversial because it deviates so much from the source material. So when the audience is introduced to the concept of something that can reset the world, fans are thinking, oh my god, there's a get out, oh my god, they could put things back to the way they are. And in that role, they're almost acting like Shinji. They're ignoring everything else, they're clambering towards these things which are going to reset the series back to the way it was. And of course, the cruel, harsh lesson of the third film is that in life there's no resets. You have to live with the consequences of your actions. And alright, I think the third film is maybe overly harsh to Shinji, and he does come across as being stupid in that moment, but I think thematically I think it's really good because it is again part of in the same way the end of I think of the third film as the closest one to being like the end of Evangelion, because it's the bleakest one, it's the darkest one, and kind of like that film kind of been like a bit of a meta commentary on grappling with fans' reactions. Oh, so you didn't like the TV show? Alright, well here's Shinji masturbating over like the comatose body of the lead female. Yeah, I just did that, fight me kind of thing, I think like the third one has like a similar vibe of kind of like, think about this, we want things to be able to, we want things to be like the first one, but instead, we're all kind of clambering to reaching like this reset thing. Basically what I'm trying to say is that I think it's a meta commentary on fan reactions always wanted the same thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Shinji clambering towards resetting the world, I think, is a bit of a meta thing on, the fan base. Oh my god, we can go back to Evangelion as we know it. Oh my god, only, as I said, there's no resets in life. And the fourth one, then, is about Shinji coming to terms with his actions. Really properly, I think, for the first time in the series, where I think really Shinji, instead of doing it in his head, or doing it as part of some huge apocalyptic event where he doesn't really interact with people, the fourth film is really about Shinji learning to live again properly and learning to become part of society again. And that's the fourth one. But real quickly on the third one, I liked the third one. I actually liked it. I could see it as definitely being, I think it's the weakest one.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I can definitely see it being set up for the fourth one. And I think it grapples with some really interesting ideas. I think it fails as like a film in some ways because it doesn't really have a central plot.
Yeah.
It felt very much like setup, which, because this film came out in I think 2013, I think. So 2012, and then the final film came out in 2021. I could understand how that could breed contempt for a long time. Obviously, the final Evangelion film, what the hell kind of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is this going to be... Because obviously the production of the fourth one took forever, so, for a time, people didn't really know what the payoff was going to be. I think watching it as part of, a series, like we did, I think the third one works pretty well. It was an overture to the fourth film.
Yeah.
But what do you think of it?
I think the same way, more or less. I think it's the weakest one, but I did still like it. As I said, I loved all the stuff with Kaoru. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I was devastated by the end, even though of course I knew Kaoru was going to die. And it just leaves us in quite a bleak place. An incredibly bleak place, yes.
Yeah. But so the film, the film kind of ends then with Shinji eventually meeting up again with Asuka and Rei, and then the three of them walk off together into like this deserty landscape. You're like, oh my god, this is how the fourth one's gonna kind of open. All right, and then this brings us finally to the fourth film in this series, Evangelion, the confusingly titled Evangelion 3.01 plus 1.0. No, sorry, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time, known in Japan as Shin Evangelion Gekki Joban. And that's it. Released in 2021, released this year, and it's done extremely well. It's kind of had a similar sort of, not quite as successful, but a similar box office run to the Demon Slayer film in Japan, where like it's just kind of continued to play. People just continue to go back and watch it. Yeah, it's finally become available in the West. Fan base went crazy. So yeah, and we're going to talk about it now. So the fourth one is huge. It's 2.5 hours. And at the end of our marathon, I was feeling very tired, especially when you got to the second half of the film.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm in two minds. I think this might be like the best one.
I think that's fair. I think for me, I felt like it sagged a bit in the middle. I'm not a big fan of space type battles that go on for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's not like a really the film's detriment. That is a personal preference.
I think it's the one where like this is the reason why we're doing these films.
Yeah.
I think this is where the payoff really kind of does come into place of like you get why Arno wanted to rebuild Evangelion. Like, this is the payoff of like where this felt like the reason why he wanted to do this series of films, basically. So it's a huge film. It has 2.5 hours. It's a lot to take in. I've still not quite fully processed everything, and I'm probably going to have to watch it again. But yeah, so this one, kind of similar to the second one, is a very much a film of two halves.
Mm-hmm.
The first hour is Shinji, Asuka, and Rei basically like living in this village of people who've kind of again Final Fantasy VII sort of vibes to me, where like they're living in like this kind of dilapidated town, and they meet the adult versions of several characters who we meet in the TV show, including Toji, Kensuke, and Hikari, who are all characters in the TV show. Toji and Hikari are now married, which is cute, and like Toji's like a doctor, and Kensuke is kind of like the town protector. And the first hour of the film is unlike anything in Evangelion. This section might be like my favourite part of like the whole Rebuild series, where it's just the three kids living in this town.
Yeah, and it is brilliant. So like, first of all, Shinji is like properly depressed in a way that like I think you don't really see very often in TV and stuff. Like he won't eat, won't sleep.
Yeah, he won't do anything. Yeah.
And it genuinely feels like that is a proper like road to recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Rei stuff is so interesting.
The Rei stuff's great. I love the Rei stuff. Yeah. Well, like like this is like one of the Rei clones basically, and the Rei clone basically learns about human life basically.
Yeah.
Her kind of cute innocence belies his kind of sadness to Rei and to who she is.
It reminded me of the character actually a bit in Gurren Lagann.
Oh yeah. The princess.
Yeah.
Character. Yeah.
It's kind of like that, where she is literally, somebody will mention something innocuous. What's a bath, or what's work, or it's and it's delightful like seeing her like make connections with like these people in the town, especially like the older women who she works with. And
it's all good, isn't it? Yeah, she works for rice fields and she helps out Hikari with like around the house and stuff, and like it's great. And you only want good things for this version of Rei, And again, like I loved Rei in these 4 films like more than I've done. I said in any of the any Evangelion media, I think this series really pushes the tragedy of Rei really well. I think. Yeah. And yes, like she kind of gets settled down, while Asuka kind of becomes like despondent and a bit of a slob.
Yeah.
But also, no, the implication is that Asuka's also a clone in this. They talk about it briefly, and I read about it on the Reddit, and like the implication seems to be that because Asuka's basically sat around and she's not wearing a bra. She's like she's I really like Asuka in these films as well because like in the third and fourth one, and again this might have dodgy implications, so we're not going to go there, but the curse of being the Ava pilot is that she is an adult, but she's in the body of a teenager. She's lived too long, basically. But the fact that she's actually a clone is actually brought up during this section.
Oh, okay. I missed it entirely.
Because she basically says to Ray that, you like me, you're just pre-programmed in a way to react to the third child in the way that he wants to. You're motherly to him. Well, I'm like a tease to him kind of thing, and so that's some of that's actually brought up. So this version of Asuka is like a clone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which goes into the loop theory.
Okay, I missed that. But like Shinji is still young. Is that why? Is that because he's like been trapped in the Eva all that time?
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's why Asuka is the age that she is.
Okay, what about Mari?
Oh, that's about Mari. I just still do not understand Mari's.
I don't either, but she also hasn't aged. I don't know.
Well, it's weird. It's weird because at the end of the film, that you see flashbacks to when Gendo was younger and hanging out with Yui and stuff, and Mari's in the photographs.
Oh, I didn't know.
Evangelion fans, please explain to me what the hell is up with Mari, because I liked her. I didn't dislike her. I just didn't really understand her. She's her personality is fun. I mean, obviously, practically part. I get the need to have another Ava pilot to do fight scenes.
Yeah, I think that is why she exists. I kind of wish they'd given her more depth, I guess.
Yeah, but where there needs to be, I think especially in the first half of this film, they give such depth to Asuka, Rei, and Shinji.
Mm-hmm.
Shinji go battling through his depression, Asuka becoming a slob. I've had Ray learning to live a quaint farming life. I loved it. Yeah. And also, like I said, Asuka's despondent. She just hangs around all day playing video games. She's rude to everyone, and she's great.
So it's all going quite well, and then Ray explodes into goop because she needed constant exposure to LCL to maintain her physical form. Also, this happens in front of Shinji, and he was recovering from seeing the first friend of his seeing their head explode, and then it happens again, and that must have been a real bummer. But yeah, this is awful. She'd come so far.
I know, it's really sad. Yeah. And at that point, Shinji's like, I need to get out of this town.
Yeah. I think him and Asuka go back to Misato's ship.
I think and Shinji and Misato have a bit of a reconciling moment.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cute. And also along the way, you also meet Misato and Kaji's son.
Oh yeah, so it turns out Kaji sacrificed himself to stop the near third impact.
Of course he did.
Yeah, and but they also had a child because Misato was pregnant at the time, and so they've got a kid, and she's and I guess she feels like she can't raise a child, so she's never met her kid. She's just kind of pieced out.
Yeah.
But you kind of get that she's got so much survivor's guilt from she already had it with her dad, but now with Kaji too, and you kind of this story has broken Misato.
I know, it's really sad.
It's so sad to see her go from the fun-loving woman that you met at the beginning, and
the fun-loving, beer guzzling, takeaway eating goddess Misato,
to this kind of hardened soldier who
it's really sad,
who feels so much responsibility for all these people she's lost, but she does get a reconciliation with Shinji, and it's nice.
It's a good scene.
It is a good scene.
And then really the rest of the film then is about them teaming up to stop Gendo from enacting the fourth impact, because him and Fuyutsuki begin to shenanigans. I mean, that's when things go crazy. Like things just like the action. For me, the action scenes were great. Like I loved them. Like all the weird, like going down to the like finding like where the Nerve headquarters are, which is in the middle of like this, I don't know, fucking wormhole. I have no idea what happened in the second half, like at all. But I think, despite all the craziness of what was going on, like you got the emotional stakes, and what the emotional stakes are is Shinji's going to confront Gendo at last.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because one of the great unfinished plot lines for me of Evangelion is Shinji never reconciled with his dad. I think it's a failure of the TV show, so it's a failure of the End of Evangelion, is that we didn't really have that scene where we duke it out of each other, you know, and do something, whether that's fight, argue, or reconcile, whatever. Shinji does not have that scene. And, like, you know, whether Hideaki Anno didn't want to do that, like...
Yeah.
Then fair enough, but like he feels at a place now where he's able to go the extra mile. So I was like, oh my god, we're actually going to do this at last. And I loved it. It was great. Like they go inside this weird like anti-universe thing, which is where Gendo's going to do the other impact or whatever.
The additional impact.
The additional impact. And then they find Black Lilith and like they create a lance called the Lance of Gaius, which is the Lance of Hope, and none of it matters at all. Like it's just an excuse for weird imagery.
Yeah.
Like I mean that in a good way as well. Like, you know, because the emotional stakes are Shinji is going to confront his dad.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene where like they're both in Beravers and they're like fighting each other.
Yeah.
And they like transport between like different settings, including Misato's dump of an apartment. Like I loved that. Like, you know, and in the end, the two of them reconcile.
Yeah.
At the end,
it was kinder to Gendo than I would have been personally. Like,
but like you kind of understand, but you see what made Gendo tick, and you see him as a person. You see him as kind of being similar to Shinji. In fact, some fans have theorized that Gendo is, you know, the same person as Shinji. You know, like at different points of their lives and stuff. Again, this, so as I found out, 90s anime loves the loop theories, like Utada, and some people think Evangelion is part of the loop as well. I think with this film it kind of reinforces it, because one of the last shots of the End of Evangelion is the red waves crashing on the beach. Opening of the first rebuild film is red waves crashing on a beach, so people think it kind of picks up where it leaves off. So yeah, you kind of learn about what made Gendo tick and why he is the way he is, and you know, Shinji doesn't accept it, but he's able to reconcile with his years of abuse, and with the help of, you know, everyone. Yeah, he's able to stop this, and Shinji's presented with a chance to basically reset the world. And he's going to called a Neon Genesis. So
they did there.
And he decides to create a world about Evangelions. So you know, like it's, I mean, it kind of ends with our boy, as I say, the eternal teen angst, Shinji Ikari, grown up into a man, happily living his life. As the final shot of the film hovers over like real world footage of modern day, as Shinji and Mari, still don't know who Mari is, run off in to live the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I have one little bit of beef with that very ending scene, is that it seems to imply that Shinji and Mari are dating.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there were any Shinji Mari shippers, but like I feel like that's the last one I would have even thought of.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by it.
It should have been Kaoru.
It should have been Kaoru.
Just gonna put it out there. Yeah. It should have been Kaoru. That would have. I feel like that would have had a bit more emotional resonance, given that Kaoru does show up again, and you know him.
It's not just a case of us being thirsty for gay shit. Like, you know, like I think logically, I think from a character perspective, I think it would have been nice if.
Yeah, especially Kaoru's whole, you know, before he died, he was like, "Oh, don't worry, Shinji, we'll see each other again," and they do talk and stuff, but like I feel like it might have been nicer if that was implying another life where they actually get to date each other. But, you know, that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But besides some like the practicality of who Shinji gets together in the end, I really love the sentiment of like this is what we've been building to. You know, the rebuild of Evangelion is literally about letting Shinji grow up. You know, and in a way, it's Anno's way of letting Evangelion go.
Yeah,
this is it now. Like, you know, if they did another Evangelion thing, I don't think Anno would be involved. Yeah, I really hope they don't. Like, part of me wants them just to close the book on this whole thing.
Yeah,
because to me, like the rebuild films, you know, again for me as well, I said as like a lifelong fan of this franchise, you know, I've never really been able to let Evangelion go. You know, I've always had that lingering thing of like it feels oddly incomplete in some ways, and now I feel like I can kind of
let it go,
set it free, kind of thing. You know, and like, you know, Shinji's off living his life now, and like, you know, he's been able to grow up. You know, and it's kind of been wild growing up with this series. Really, as I say, you know, at least half of my adult life, or half of my life, you know, Evangelion's been a part of it, and these films just really kind of helped me remember like the experience of first watching that series so long ago, being, you know, like a lonely, angsty teenager. You know, I said, you know, I joked about, you know, the way you spend my evenings, but that is literally how you spend my evenings. Like, I just watch anime, come home from school, I wouldn't talk to anybody, you know, I'd lock myself in my room, and that'd be it, basically. And like, you know, Evangelion, you know, was like a way, like the TV show certainly was like a way of kind of like that scream, letting that scream of my teen frustrations out in like anime form. And it was kind of interesting coming back to it this year, like, and like just being able to enjoy it as, you know, a piece of media, and like not really thinking about the way of how I felt at that time watching that TV series. And the rebuild films kind of really felt like, you know, let's take that anger and that frustration, that confusion, let's try and make something like positive out of it, which I do think is what Anno's intention was. You know, like building towards, I said the four films are laced with a more hopeful warmth to them, which I really appreciated, and building towards a new conclusion, I said, is letting Shinji grow up was beautiful to me. Like, you know, I really dug it, like, you know, but yeah, that fourth one was dense and it was long and there was a lot to take in. I'll probably have to rewatch it at some point. But I mean, what do you think of the fourth one?
I liked it. I think I didn't like it as much as you did. You know, I have that thing. It is a me thing. I tend to phase out during, especially space battles, if they go on a bit too long. I'm always like, okay, get to the next scene. But but I love the first half, or I love the first hour of it. I mostly liked where it ended, and I think it was really nice to see a different version of events.
Exactly, yeah. I'd like, you know, the good thing about Evangelion is that now there's 3 distinct different endings to the series, which I like, you know. None of them cancel each other out. All of them are legit, and I can't think of any media franchise which has that to claim, you know. I think very specifically the first film starts the way that it does in order to kind of give people that similar experience to everybody else, you know. Some people prefer the TV show ending, some people prefer the End of Evangelion ending, and some people are going to prefer the rebuild of Evangelion ending. You know, everyone's opinions are legit. There's different ways to, and some people love the manga ending better, I'm sure. There's lots of different approaches to Evangelion. I think it's cool that we live in a world where there are so many different conclusions to this story. So I mean, a very Saturday well spent.
I think, you know, it's easy when there are multiple versions of something, and this goes a bit for like Full Metal Alchemist too, to get bogged down in which one you think is the right version or the best version, and like I think you don't have to, you know, declare one of them like right and one of them like wrong. It's, you know, both got, or every version has its own merit.
And each one has its own flaws.
And I think you can just enjoy things for what they are.
Exactly, I agree. So yes, I mean, like, overall, like, I really liked the Rebuild films. I thought they were a worthwhile investment. I'm glad I waited until all 4 were out to watch them.
Yeah.
Because I would have probably got a bit frustrated if I had to wait that long. I don't think the third one was as bad as people say it is.
No.
I think it's good, actually.
I think it's good, actually, and Kaoru.
Exactly, yeah. There's lots to like about
lots of Kaoru.
Lots of Kaoru, yeah. There's lots to like about the third one. You know, it's probably the weakest one. I'll agree there, but I don't think it's bad by any stretch. I think it's rather good. Yeah. So all 4 are worth watching. I would say. You know, I don't think they replace Evangelion. They more just exist in the same universe. You know, they exist in the same space, and just watch whichever one you want, really.
Yeah, or both.
Or both. I'd say watch all. Watch everything Evangelion related.
Yeah,
you know.
it's. I mean, I don't know if I can say it's a good time, but it's worth it. Yeah,
they're definitely, yeah. And I'd say it kind of caps off this bit of renaissance that Evangelion is having at the moment. Like, it really, really kind of this 4th film kind of hits that kind of peak of like this Evangelion renaissance where, you know, the TV show's now available on Netflix. The Blu-ray versions are literally just around the corner. Like, oh my god, they're finally going to be available to pre-order on Blu-ray, and I'm going to order it. I don't care how much it is. And then this kind of caps off that kind of nice renaissance the series is having, again, with that slightly more hopeful ending. You know, and there's lots of things that I could talk about with lots of like reoccurring imagery. I loved it when Shinji had that moment of going back to the end of Evangelion, and it's Asuka on the beach. You know, in the End of Evangelion, he chokes her. And in this film, sees her again and says, I'm really happy I have a chance to see you one more time, kind of thing. You know, the original version of Asuka, you know, not the clone, the clone Asuka. So
that makes sense now, yeah.
So, you know, like, it's stuff like that. Well, I think there's also really clever meta things going on. You know, I think him saying goodbye to Asuka in that way, again, is another way of letting the past go. For fans, letting the past go, you know. You know, it kind of like reminds me of kind of like the perfect ending of Undertale.
Yeah.
Like, I really got like that vibe from it, where like, you know, Undertale's really clever in that, like, you know, it ends in such a way where, like, you know, everyone's got their happy ending, everyone's got their perfect ending. You've made the world better for everybody. So why on earth would you want to reset it? Why would you want to reset everyone's happiness? I've actually not replayed Undertale since I got the perfect ending, because I don't think I have the strength to like reset the game and get rid of everyone's happiness. And I think the ending of this 4th film is a little bit like that, in a way, where I'm a bit like, you know, yeah, you know what, like, I'm happy leaving Shinji here. You know, like, you know, he's gone through some shit. The kid needs to be happy. You know, the man needs to be happy. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a good time, and we made a fun time marathoning it.
We did.
Well, thank you for listening to the bonus episode. I didn't expect Evangelion to come back into my life as hard as it has done in 2021, you know, but I'm glad that it has. It's been fun going back to this show that continues to mean so much to me. And also, you know, introducing Grace to it as well. You know, it's been one of the real slam dunks, I think, of this whole endeavour.
Yeah, I have loved everything Evangelion.
Yep. And hopefully for many years to come. Anyway, that's it for now, and like Shinji, we're gonna run off and just run outside our flat and just, like, you know, and, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do whatever. We're getting in the robot.
Yeah. One last time. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Where There's a Weeb, There's a Way. If you enjoyed this show, please make sure to like, rate and subscribe to us. You can also follow us on Twitter @TheirWeeb. And we'll see you again 2 weeks from now.